For the first time in over a month, the Dodgers won a series on the road. Let's talk about Flaherty. Let's talk about Gavin Stone. Let's talk about Gavin Lux. Let's get a lot into things. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use code all lowercase LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. And if you want to become an everydayer, you can become one by listening or watching every day and make that easier on yourself by subscribing and be notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live like we are here on Sunday night. If this is your first time listening, watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio. That's my co-host, Jeff Snyder. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have spent time, a lot of time, 10 years, covering the team in a variety of ways, doing this podcast for more than half of that. And we've seen a lot of Dodger baseball. We've talked a lot of Dodger baseball. We're going to continue to keep doing all that. And we're going to get started right here talking about the weekend series. Conceivably the last time the Dodgers will play in Oakland, California, Jeff.
Yeah. At least unless something weird happens, I don't think the A's will be in the playoffs. So I guess Oakland could get another team back at some point. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was last time there. And honestly, coming into the series, the Dodgers really needed a series win. Things didn't look great after that first game, but they ended up getting the series win. And for me, kind of the big highlight, well, there was a lot of highlights, but that maybe the most meaningful thing for me as far as optimism for the future goes was that the bullpen pitched really well. The bullpen allowed a total of, I think, just one run in the 3 games. Just the Joe Kelly home run. That was the only run that the bullpen allowed in the 3 games. And the A's are a bad team, but they're not a bad hitting team. And so when coming into this with pitching being the biggest concern, and specifically the bullpen right now, for the bullpen to pitch quite a few innings and only allow the 1 run against a good hitting team, I thought that was definitely a reason for optimism going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen, came through obviously on Saturday. It was a close game. Like, the bullpen did come through in that game, even though Flaherty went 6. It was still 2-0 up until late in that game, and then the Dodgers broke it open in the last couple innings. On Sunday, they nursed a 1-run lead the entire way. River Ryan didn't make it out of the 5th inning, but the Dodgers bullpen took it the rest of the way. And then, like you mentioned, after Joe Kelly on Friday, the bullpen kept it where it was at. The Dodgers almost came back. But obviously, let's start off with Flaherty, because he was the Dodgers' big trade line addition. He was, we were excited about it. And then that excitement was tempered with a little bit after they lost, a couple games in San Diego. But we got to see him on Saturday, and we got to see a few different things. We got to see him cruise for a while and pitch very well. Then we got to see him to get out of a big jam where Dave Roberts kind of let him go and finish that inning. And yeah, I mean, for what it was, like you mentioned, the A's still a solid hitting team. They got a couple of big hitters there. Brent Rooker's a real stud up there in the middle of the lineup. He shut him down for 6 innings.
Yeah, and that jam that he got in was only partially of his own making. There was the error on Biggio to open the inning, and then just a bloop single, which bloop singles happen, but and then that made him have to be a little bit more careful. He walks, he got to load the bases. I'm gonna get out of this, and it didn't have to end that way. The grounder to third, sometimes ground balls find holes. But for me, the big one was the second out, getting the strikeout on whatever that guy's name is, the first baseman, who's same person as every other left-handed first baseman the A's have ever had. Getting that strikeout was huge, because once you get that strikeout, then he actually said after the game, he said, I had to remind myself, okay, don't let up, because there's no such thing as almost out of a jam. You're in the jam until you're out of it. And so I thought that was a good example of veteran mindset, that was on his mind, that telling himself, okay, that's only 2 outs. I have to keep making my best pitches, because unless we get the 3rd out, then the first 2 outs didn't really matter.
Yeah. And like 7 strikeouts over the 6 innings. I think 2 walks. I don't remember how many walks he had.
I think just the one.
Okay, 1 walk. Yeah. So and that's what we were sold on. We were sold on strikeouts and no walks, and that's what we got out of him. 6 innings. He wasn't as efficient as you could have been for a guy, but the job got done. He was more efficient than anybody else the Dodgers threw out there this weekend, and maybe that kind of lends itself into the next topic conversation, which is Gavin Stone, who's now had a string of 5 starts where he struggled a little bit, maybe hit a little bit of a wall. I don't know, Jeff. Are you seeing anything specifically different out of him?
I don't know. I wonder if it's just one of those things that guys go through, like the stuff. There's nothing super noticeable about the stuff that says, oh, this is, in the issue. People keep saying, well, ever since his complete game, he's been lousy or whatever, but it's not like the velocity's down or anything. I think it's just not executing pitches, and that happens. And the good news is that can go away just as fast as it came. It's kind of interesting that his next start, they've already announced, is going to be on just 4 days rest, which the Dodgers don't do very often at all. But they're just kind of keeping him in there. And I think that's good. And what he needs is to pitch a game where his offense kind of explodes a little bit, so he can just kind of relax, and that might be the mental reset to be able to focus on making his pitches and just not worry about the scoreboard. Okay, I'm up 6-0. I can just make my pitches. And if I win 6-3 or 6-0 or 6-5, it doesn't really matter. The Dodgers don't blow 6-run leads. So that they, getting him a big lead, some comfort while he's pitching would be nice, to just kind of let him ease back in. But also, I've been thinking about, like, when Yamamoto comes back, assuming Yamamoto comes back, he threw a bullpen, seems to have gone well. If he comes back, do they, Gavin Stone has options. Do they say, hey, let's take a little break, just, option him to the minors? Not even, again, you're not even going to pitch in the minor leagues. You're just taking 15 days off, and take the first 9 days off, and then throw a bullpen session, and then you're back up here in 15 days. That wouldn't surprise me at all, because the stuff is really good. But there's nothing that concerns me so much. I think, oh man, Gavin Stone is shot. He's done for, like I feel about, some other guys.
Yeah, you look at the numbers too, and you think, oh, maybe he's walking more guys, but not really. He's had, in his last 5 starts, he's had 0 walks in 2 of them, and then 3 or less walks in the others. You're like, oh, maybe, he's not really striking out as much. That's true to a certain extent. He hasn't, I think this last Friday he had 5 strikeouts. That was his most in a month, but he wasn't a big strikeout guy before that. Maybe there's a little swing and miss missing, which is kind of what you're talking about, with the pitches just aren't quite getting there. The biggest thing is that he is giving up more hits, and whether that's a product of the stuff is not as sharp, whether that's product of getting into bad counts and, maybe having to put pitches there, whatever it is, we don't know exactly what it is. And I don't think there's no velocity dip. There's nothing like that. I mean, maybe if we really broke down the numbers, there might be some stuff in his movement, but like you said, nothing that's really showing off. I think the one thing, and this goes along with getting hit, is that he's giving up a little bit more home runs. But he did a good job of limiting hard contact. Now he kind of got away from that. I think it's just a combination. And again, it's the last 5 starts, but it's not like all of them were bad. He went 5 innings, 1 run against the Red Sox. We were, had gotten used to him getting a little bit deeper, but that's a solid start. The other one was 4 2/3. 4 runs, 3 innings, 4 runs. Those aren't great. The other one was 6 innings, but did go up to 4 runs. A couple home runs, though, were the real issue there. And then this one, a couple of those runs he didn't actually give up, but, they were charged to him. But, yeah, I mean, it could just be we're deep into, well, not deep in August, but we're deep into the summer now. And, it's hot sometimes, and it just doesn't go your way sometimes.
Yeah, and the good news is Gavin Stone has been through this before. He had major struggles last year, and he figured it out. He got through it, and so this might just be another opportunity for him to grow as a big league pitcher and bounce back and be better for it in the long run. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens over the next few starts.
Yeah. We got a lot of good news on the Dodger injury front, and guys coming back soon. Who's all coming back? What's coming back? What are they going to get into? What's the roster going to look like? Get into all that. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you're watching a Dodger game, there might be ice cream or an icy, or if you're at home, maybe enjoy another cold, frozen treat, whatever it is. You can get that in your water too, because Liquid IV's got the popsicle firecracker flavor, and it's the perfect flavor for the summer. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Liquid IV is perfect for you if you're going out in the summer, if you're already out in the summer, or if you had a long night in the summer and you wake up the next morning feeling a little dehydrated. Liquid IV is there to help you out, and they got a bunch of different flavors, not just that firecracker flavor that I mentioned, but a lot of different flavors that, there's bound to be one that you like. So go check it out. They got acai berry, lemon lime, pina colada, that popsicle firecracker, and it gets you hydration. Just put it in your water, put it in your beverage, and boom, you're there getting hydrated, getting your electrolytes and all that type of stuff. It's powered by the LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. It's got 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients. Always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So no more thirsty stomachs when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to make your second listen of the day Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. He's providing national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can also check out Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Dodgers Postcast with host Pete Fox is available on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, live after most Dodger games and on our audio feed. All right, Jeff, let's talk returns. We got the biggest, maybe brightest news of the weekend was that Freddie Freeman's son Max is now home. He's on the road to recovery. We found out that he had Guillain-Barré syndrome, right? Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is scary for a child, especially when you don't know what's going on. He got paralyzed, and they couldn't figure it out. They got it figured out. He was on the breathing tube. They got him off that. And all good now. Now he's home, obviously on the road to recovery. He's still got to relearn how to walk and that type of stuff and get the power back in his body. But good to hear that's happening. Freddie is expected to return this series against the Phillies. Not sure if that means on Monday for sure or at some point during the series, but that's the first, kind of domino to drop in the Dodgers recoveries.
Yeah. Dave Roberts had already told the media that Freddie would be back sometime during the Philly series, and then we got the word that Max is home from the hospital. I'm kind of assuming that means that Freddie will probably be back tomorrow for first game of the homestand. I would guess, and this is totally a guess, I would guess that Freddie would have been playing at least some of the games if they had been on a homestand. I think it was just being away from the family, like entirely on a road trip that wasn't working for him. So now that he's home, now that they're at home and Max is at home, I would guess he'll be, I wouldn't be surprised if he still misses a game here and there because his family needs him. And, I hope he does if that's what they need. But yeah, I would expect him back in on Monday and to play this whole Philly series, which is definitely big news for the Dodgers lineup. He is definitely missed when he's not there.
That's the first decision of these roster decisions. Will have to come with that. Do we think this is Kevin Biggio's final goodbye?
I would guess that Biggio sticks around for this one, just because we don't know if Freddie might need to miss an occasional game here and there, and B, they don't need the 40-man roster spot yet, because when Biggio goes, he'll be getting DFA'd. He'll be off the 40-man roster. And so I would guess they send down Outman when Freddie comes back and keep Biggio around just in case. And then they keep Biggio probably until Tommy Edman comes back, and they need the 40-man roster spot. That would be my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. We don't really see Outman much. I forget he's on the team sometimes. But yeah, so beyond that, we heard more good news on Mookie Betts. He hit at Dodger Stadium. He's supposed to hit at Dodger Stadium again, along with Tommy Edman and maybe Max Muncy. Some other guys recovering. Dave Roberts expects him to maybe return, Mookie Betts to return on the next road trip when they go out in like 10 days or so. And then, Max Muncy, we haven't heard anything bad after the breakthrough. So I would assume that he's working his way back. He might need a rehab assignment. It might be a little bit longer. Tommy Edman's right behind Mookie in terms of coming back. I saw Brusdar Graterol posted that he's in Los Angeles. So maybe he's getting activated this series here against the Phillies. So that'll be exciting to see Brusdar back on the mound. Like you mentioned earlier, Yamamoto through the bullpen session. 20 pitches, make some pitches in. Next step is throw another bullpen on Tuesday. So, slowly but surely the Dodgers are starting to come back. But I think, Mookie's the big one, obviously, not just for the lineup, but also to kind of see what they're going to do with him. I know you talked a little bit about it on last episode last week, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah. They said probably August 12th or 13th for Mookie. That's a week away. That's next Monday or Tuesday, which would be pretty awesome. Excited to get Mookie back. Muncy is an interesting one. I had a question offline from, I think it was from our buddy Showtime LA, who's often in these chats. I don't see him here tonight, but asking if I feel like the Dodgers are rushing Muncy back. And I told him he'd have to listen to find out my answer, or at least the long version of the answer. Short version is I don't think they are, because his concern was that, just a week and a half ago, we thought he still had a strained oblique and we didn't know when he was going to come back. And now suddenly it's, he's not far behind Mookie. He could be back in a couple of weeks. For me, I was thinking about this and thinking about the fact that he had a breakthrough with a chiropractor when this was a muscle strain, and chiropractors don't really deal with muscles. And so I had a theory and I ran it by my friend who is a chiropractor. And he basically remarked on just how much of a genius I am, or more to the point, he said that my theory sounded reasonable. My guess is that Muncy's oblique injury has been healed for a while, but that something else around it tightened up. And talking to my friend the chiropractor, it could either be muscles around it, like compensating for the strain, like clenched up. And so he thought that he still had the strained oblique because he was still feeling something there. The other thing that my chiropractor friend threw out was possibly just scar tissue, because a muscle strain is a small tear. And when those things heal, they create scar tissue, and that can create tightness. And so depending on, we don't know what the chiropractor did with Muncy, but if it was just an adjustment, it could be something that loosened up, allowed those muscles around the oblique to loosen up. Or if it was scar tissue, it could have been, a Theragun kind of thing, some sort of massage therapy that broke up the scar tissue. Either way, both of those would mean that the actual oblique injury has been healed for a while. And so I'm not concerned about him rushing back and re-injuring it, because those are really the only things that do make sense for how he could have had a breakthrough at a chiropractor. So I think the oblique has probably been fine for a while and he just didn't know it.
Yeah, especially with the oblique, it's either hurt or it's not. I don't think it's, at least from what I've heard about people that hurt their obliques, like it's not like, oh, my oblique feels a little better today. It's either it feels better or it doesn't. And, with Muncy, it seemed like what you maybe mentioned, that something didn't feel right there. They just kept assuming it was the oblique, and then they kind of figured out, oh, maybe it wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, it's exciting to get that bat back in the lineup, even if he does take a little while to get it going. Like if you can get him back by the middle of the month, you got 6 weeks to kind of figure it out, get him going before October. And, maybe it's one of those where it helps him out. Like he doesn't have to worry so much, think so much. He can just go out there and just swing the bat and hit. And, we've seen that work out for different guys. It all depends on how your swing is and everything else. But, some guys need to work on getting that swing back and refined because it's such a finely tuned swing. And some guys, can just go out there and maybe live a little carefree and just swing the bat and be glad to be back. So,
yeah. And either way, getting all these guys back, it's just going to be a more formidable lineup than what the Dodgers have been putting out lately. And that non-formidable lineup just won 2 games in a row and scored 13 games in the 2 runs. There's still some stuff there, but having Mookie and Muncy and Freddie back in this lineup, they're not replacing the big guys. They're replacing the Bigios and the Nick Ahmeds of the lineup, and that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, other guys have kind of stayed hot, but we'll get into that after we talk about the pitching that's expected back or that we're hoping to be back, or Walker Buehler, does he deserve to be back? We'll get into it. Make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and you can do it from over 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. There is still the summer games going on. You can win up to 100 times your cash on Prize Picks when you can turn $10 into 1,000 while watching Team USA rack up the gold medals this summer. Make a Prize Picks lineups of players across basketball. Basketball is one of the main ones left, so go check out what else they got on there, and make sure to check out the Dodgers. You can put down if you think Ohtani's going to hit, if you think somebody else in the lineup is going to hit, if you think a pitcher's going to get strikeouts. All you got to do is find the stat projection, pick more or less, and it's that easy. You can go from 2 to 6 players and build your lineup that way. And remember, you can win up to 100 times your cash right now. So go check out Prize Picks, download the app, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That means any money you put down up to $100 will get also not reimbursed. We'll get put to you in a bonus one. So if you put in 100, you get 100 in bonus cash to keep those fun and lineups going all summer long. So check it out. That's the Prize Picks app. The code is LOCKEDONMLB. Get a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I want to thank you for being an everydayer if you are one. If you're not one, you can start becoming an everydayer by listening or watching every day. If you're not ready to commit to that, you can just add 1 episode a week, and we appreciate that a lot. And if you want to add another one after that, then that's up to you. And if you keep adding until you're up to 5 a week, then you're an everydayer. So make sure to do that. You'll be on the podcast. Come a Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can get text directly from us with any updates. Some exclusive video we got the other day of guys taking batting practice on the field and different things of that nature. Or you could text us if you have any questions or thoughts or comments or just want to hear something on the podcast. So make sure to check all that out. And let's get back into it, Jeff. So we mentioned Yamamoto. He threw the 20 pitches on Friday, supposed to throw again on Tuesday. Realistically, the end of the month would be a target if everything continues to go right for him. We also found out, I don't think there's much there. We just hope that he comes back healthy. But I think the big conversation is Walker Buehler. Dave Roberts mentioned that he would make one more start in OKC and then rejoin the Dodgers rotation. If you haven't been paying attention, Walker Buehler has not fared well down there in OKC. And I know we talk about these rehab assignments not necessarily being about the numbers, but with someone who was struggling before they got hurt in the major leagues, and it's not necessarily a matter of coming back from injury, it's a matter of pitching better. I don't know, Jeff, is it, if he has another bad outing, like, are they really going to just throw him back in the rotation?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see for sure. There's a few different possibilities. One is just that Dave Roberts doesn't want to sound negative on Buehler, and so the plan is to put him back in the rotation. Yep, that's the plan. And that remains the plan until it's not the plan. But another option is that they are going to do that, put him back in the rotation, but it won't last long. If he comes up and he bombs, I would suspect it will only take one bad outing and then they will do something. And the fact is, last year of his contract, I think the Dodgers don't want to tank his free agency value. I think the Dodgers want to help him have value because this is really his one chance to make big money in his career. And, the only way that's really going to happen is for him to pitch in the big leagues and pitch well. And I don't think anybody, either the two of us or any of the people in our chat right now, think that's a likelihood of Walker Buehler pitching well in the big leagues this year. But I think the Dodgers will probably give him one chance to do that. And if he's terrible, I think it's just the one chance. If he's mediocre, maybe he gets another chance. I don't think he necessarily has to come out and throw 6 shutout innings like Jack Flaherty did. But if Buehler can throw 5 innings and allow 3 runs, I think that earns him another start. But if he comes out and gets knocked out in the 4th inning and gives up 7 runs, I think at that point, he's definitely out of the Dodgers rotation. And whether that is, okay, let's go back to the IL, or it's, hey, Walker, thanks for the memories. You're a free agent in a couple months anyway, and you're not going to pitch anymore for us. So we're going to release you. And, I would guess the Dodgers don't want to do that because there's always that outside chance that he picks up with another team and ends up, pitching against the Dodgers in October. And, I'd love for the Dodgers to face the current version of Walker Buehler in October. But, I don't think they're going to give him too much rope, but they may give him more rope than a lot of fans would like.
Yeah. And we talked a lot about before how, the division was a little bit of a wrap, and the Dodgers have the chances now. Obviously, they played themselves into a point where it's not as much a lock as it was before. The Dodgers were 4.5 up right now, kept pace with the other guys chasing them. But, you would imagine they're going to start playing better once these guys start coming back. They do have the entire month of August playing teams, I believe, that are above 500. But the Dodgers have been pretty good against teams above 500 this year, even when they haven't had the best lineup. So it'll be a good test this month to kind of see what it is. But, yeah, I do think that it's sad to say, and it's painful to think about that Walker Buehler could make 1 or 2 more starts for the Dodgers, and then there's a chance that they do have to DFA or outright release or whatever they can do, and he ends up off the roster. But yeah, I think at this point the Dodgers, they don't have, like you said, the loyalty from before where he's gonna come back next year. Maybe we can, kind of guide him through a couple starts and then say, what, maybe my arm hurts, and then boom, you'll come back next year. Like, they don't have that necessarily. They don't have that luxury. And realistically, they have guys that even all the rookies have been pitching better than he did when he was up with the Dodgers. So, it's tough. And it's one of those, like, kind of what we talked about with Kershaw last week is we don't know if it is going to come back or if he is going to be fine or if he is at some point going to just figure it out. Like, second Tommy John surgery, there's not a lot of guys that come back from that and pitch like they did before. Kershaw with the shoulder, he's never had surgery before. We don't know exactly if it's always going to come back or not. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, one start and kind of play it by ear is assuming that's how it's going to go down.
Yeah, this question in the chat from Pika Peep: do the Dodgers get a compensation pick if Walker Buehler walks? The answer is maybe. They would only get a compensation pick if they make him a qualifying offer. And I don't know that the Dodgers would make him a qualifying offer at this point because I think he would probably take it. Hey, there's worse things getting paid $20 million to try to bounce back for a year. The way Buehler's pitching right now, I don't think he would get that much. I mean, he may get more than $20 million overall. Somebody would probably give him a 2-year deal worth $22 million or something. But I suspect Buehler would probably take a qualifying offer to give him 1 more year to try to reestablish his free agent value. And I don't know if the Dodgers would want to do that. And so if they don't make him a qualifying offer, then they don't get anything if he walks in free agencies. That's part of the hard decision that they have coming up.
Yeah. So Like talked about Graterol, he's in LA. I'm assuming he's coming back soon.
Yeah, they said Graterol and Grove both back this week. They didn't say exactly what day, but I assume, in this Phillies series at some point.
Yeah, so that goes, begs the question again on the roster situation. What exactly do they do? I mean, you look at the bullpen, and the guys that were struggling are guys that you're probably not going to send down. And Alex Vesia picked up actually a little bit of velocity this weekend. It's one of those where, Anthony Banda got the save on Sunday, completing Jeff's prediction of at least 10 Dodgers getting a save. So, but he's been pitching really well. Like, there's not a for sure person unless they're going to start giving guys time off with, some phantom milestones.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's nobody in this pitching staff right now who is an obvious yes, send him down. And like you said, very few guys who even can be sent down. And so it probably would have to be, I mean, Brent Honeywell has pitched well, but he might be the odd man out, which is a bummer because and another reason it might be the odd man out is because are Grove and Graterol both on the 60-day?
Pretty sure.
Graterol 60-day, Grove's only 15-day. So the Dodgers need one 40-man roster spot. Well, DFAing Brent Honeywell, as much as that would suck, might be what they have to do. And Brent Honeywell has pitched really well. When I look at the guys, the 21 names of guys who would be contending for the 13 pitching spots on a postseason roster, Honeywell's pretty low on the list for me because he doesn't have the huge strikeout stuff. And I think strikeout stuff becomes more important in October. I don't think that I think Honeywell could serve a lot of purpose in the regular season. I don't think I can picture a postseason pitching staff that I would want really Brent Honeywell on. And so maybe that's the move they do. But yeah, it's going to be, there's some hard decisions because that's only one guy. So there's still, Joe Kelly. Does Joe Kelly get a sprained command tool or something? But he's already been on the IL recently, kind of. So yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do with any of these things.
Yeah, but we're not the one making the decision, so we just get to wait and see what happens. And if you're a Locked On Dodgers insider, you'll be one of the first to find out what happens because you'll get a text from us directly when we do hear news of what's going on. You got anything else to add, Jeff?
No, I see Nando's here talking about a game from 4 days ago. The Dodgers played a couple games, Nando. You should, I think you can catch them on MLB TV. You could catch the games that they've played recently if you want to talk about current events, maybe. I got nothing else. I'm excited. I'll be at Dodger Stadium on Tuesday. When I watched Clayton Kershaw walk off the mound last October, I thought it might be the last time I ever got to see him pitch in person. So I'm excited to get to see him pitch in person again, and hopefully he will bounce back. And then talking about him in the chat will be relevant again on Tuesday night. So be sure to come back and do that. But excited to see any of you who are there. Be sure to find me and say hi, and looking forward to being back at the stadium.
Yep. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Before I missed this last week because we had so much excitement with the trade deadline, and then the Padres series was just annoying. We got a request for a birthday shout out for David Ziegler. His wife asked us to shout him out. His birthday was last week, so he's in every day or so. Appreciate you. If you hear your name, that means you're a real one because you stuck all the way around to the end. So appreciate you. That's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, or at least add an extra episode if you're not ready to commit to being an everydayer. Add one episode a week, and you'll get to that everydayer status here every so often. If you want to go beyond the podcast, come on Locked On Dodgers Insider, you can do so at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text directly from us, and you can text us back if you have any questions or comments. You can check out Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Locked On Dodgers Postcast with host Pete Fox is available on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel live after most Dodger games and on our audio feed. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at SnyDog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us for any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. We can get in your car if you're at home. Text My Device Play Podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.